All right, so here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do a quick demonstration to show you how we do the demonstration. What I have here are a couple of things. I have my box, I have a timer. The box is so that you'll know what everything that you'll need whenever you're doing the demonstration. I have this timer here. Hopefully I'll get to it before it goes blank on me. Fought with it for the last 15 minutes trying to get it to stand and show in the camera without the glare. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna go over what you need for the demonstration. What I have here is a bottle of water. We have 2 cups, measuring cup, store-bought pad, and then we have our pad. And then also we have the light bulb we'll come back to in just a moment. And then we got our napkins here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna do 2 things. Move this out of the way. And we're gonna break this demonstration up into 3 parts. The first part is going to be the wet dry. I'm gonna move this up and down just so that it doesn't go blank on me. So the first thing we do is what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the demonstration off by explaining what we're gonna go into. And that's discussing the difference between your store-bought pad and the Jewel Premium Sanitary Napkins. The very first thing that we talk about is we show the pockets in the store-bought pads. We let them know that the reason for the pockets is because they use a duct tape grade adhesive for their pads and for the backing of their pads, and that's a dangerous chemical that they shouldn't have on the most sensitive part of their body. And so what we'll do is we're gonna make sure we share that with them up front. We pull it off, and then we're going to get rid of the trash. And then we're going to put it on the table like so. And we want to emphasize that this is a 10-hour protection pad. We'll let them know it's not going to take 10 hours for this demonstration, but we want them to know that that's what the company is proposing. And then what we do is we show them that our pads are, 1, thinner, and then also it's completely sealed. There's no pockets because we use a natural backing for our pads. So what we're gonna do is take this out, and then we're gonna place it next to store-bought pads. And the first thing we do is we share with people the size comparison, which is store-bought pad is longer and thicker and bulkier than our pad. So what I'm using to demonstrate with is the moderate flow pad, which is our smallest pad. And then I went to the store, I bought an always pad, which is their largest pad. And then what we do is we have people rub their hands on the store-bought pad, and then we have them rub their hands on the Jewel pad. That is just to show that their pads are rough, it's coarse. The material used on the first layer of their pad is rayon. It's a synthetic plastic that is an irritant. That's why women have vaginal rawness, they have chafing, they have itching, because it's plastic. It's not meant to go on the first or the most sensitive part of the woman's body. And then we have our product, which is a cotton lining, a cotton blend. And so what the first thing we want to do is get them to touch it and feel it. We let them know, hey, look, we're already winning because ours feels better. And then we explain that medical professionals, gynecologists, OBGYNs, and doctors give us this stat. It's on an average day, a woman is going to flow 15 to 50 milliliters of fluid or blood on her average cycle. So I got a bottle of water here, and what I do is I fill it up to 50 milliliters. I let them know we're gonna go on the high end. And usually during the demonstration, I'll hold it up and say, can you verify that's 50 milliliters? And so what we do is we're going to simulate a full day of feminine flow. We're going to take the water and we're going to pour it along the pad, which is the store-bought pad. I always make sure I make the comment that I'm gonna try not to get it all on the table. And then we're gonna say we're gonna make a comparison. We're gonna do the exact same thing with the Jewel Premium sanitary napkin. And so I'm gonna fill the measuring cup up to 50 milliliters, just like I did before. I'll show them again. Can you verify that this is 50 milliliters? And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna pour it on the pad. We're gonna take our time, and the main thing that you need to keep in mind when pouring water on the pad is you wanna go back and forth all the way from one end of the pad to the other end of the pad. And you wanna do your best to get it in the center of the pad because the pad has 4 layers that it has to get through. And so you want to make sure that the pad is completely soaked from end to end. Now, at this point, this is when we want to start talking to fill this space. It's going to take about 2 minutes for this pad to completely absorb all the water so we can put the napkin on top of the pad, pull it up so it's completely dry. A couple of things that I like to do is either tell a story, explain a problem, or give stats. So what we usually do, depending on who I'm talking to, is I'll let people know, or I'll ask the question, who do you know that dreads that time of the month? Or who do you know that has issues when it comes to their cycle? I'll bring up issues that are common like headaches, migraines, back pains, they have cramping, they have all these things. And then what we explain to them is that it's a problem and women don't talk about it. We talk about how the women are suffering in silence. And what we want to do is we want to address it. We want to make sure that our women aren't having to deal with those problems. And what we've done is we've put together an all natural and chemical free pad. So at this time, as you see, almost 2 minutes have passed. So what we're going to do is we're going to share with them that the one or the most common issue that we hear women talk about is how their pads, the store-bought pads, what they've been using, is not keeping them dry. They are not effective. And what we do is we're going to just take a napkin. We're going to segue into it better than that, but we're going to let them know that we're going to do a wet dry test or a comparison. We're going to take a napkin, just a plain napkin, and you can use a paper towel, a napkin. We use the red napkin because it'll simulate blood. It's because of the color red, and it's just a cheap napkin. You can go to the store, get 50 of these for like 96 cents or $1. And so what I'm going to do is stop that. We're going to take some pressure, or what we're going to do is just show them our hand, and then we're going to push down. As we're doing this, I make the comment. Now, what's happening is exactly what we expect to happen. We just poured 50 milliliters of water on here, and we simulated a full day of feminine flow. So what happened was the pad is completely soaked. We showed them from top to bottom. It's not holding. And then we showed them this again. This said it was a 10-hour protection plan. And then what we do is we reference it didn't even last for 2 minutes, or I'll say 5 minutes. And then we'll put this down. And what I like to do is I take a napkin, dry my hand off. And as I get ready to take another completely dry napkin, I'll put it over our pad. And as I get ready to put my hand on there, I'll say, you know what? Let me get you to help me with it. I want you to put some pressure on the pad. And then what they'll do is they'll put their hand on it. They'll put their hand on it. They'll realize it's not working and it's not getting wet. And so usually they'll put some more pressure on it. They'll stand up or they'll try to push on it. And that's the first wow factor. That's the first thing we want to show them about our pads is that, one, ours comes up completely dry and the store-bought pads is completely soaked. So that's the first part. The second part is we want to add insult to injury. So what we want to do is we want to share with women why ours are so much more absorbent than theirs. So what I like to do is I want to ask the question I'll share this with them because it's true. Normally when a woman or a young girl starts her cycle, they're just given a pad or they're told this is what you're supposed to do. Very few women do the research that they're supposed to be doing. So what they do is they just go to the store and they buy a pad. They're usually making their decision based on how inexpensive the pads are. So what I tell them is, what we're going to do is we're going to pull this pad up and we're going to dissect it. Now, the one thing I want you to see is I'm going to pull from one side or the other. That's just the way that I found the pads come apart the easiest. So I'm going to take the pad and I'm tear it so that I'm not tearing into the center of the pad, but I'm tearing along the side. And it'll take a second and then it'll just rip off. And we take the trash, set it to the side. And what we're going to do is pull it apart so that the top layer or the rayon will come off without tearing everything apart, because all this trash that's in the inside is going to start floating around. It's going to start getting in people's eyes, and got to be very careful. So what we want to do is we want to pull this off so that just the top layer comes off. We want to explain to them, or we want to ask them, what do you think this is? And they'll either say cotton or paper or whatever. And we want to let them know it's not cotton. And I always like to do this just for the extra dramatic. I like to say cotton doesn't sound like that. It just depends on who's around, how close they are, if you can hear it. But it's like a scratching noise. And we want to let them know that this is rayon, it's synthetic plastic, and it's not meant to go on the first or the most, it's not supposed to be the first thing touching the most sensitive part of your body. And so we want to pull that to the side. And then what we do is, again, we're adding insult to injury. So what we're going to do is we're going to take water and we're going to fill it up. Make sure you get a good view of what we're doing here. Move this out the way. So what we want to do is we want to put a little water in 1 cup, and then we want to pour twice as much water in the other cup. And then we ask the question, which one of these cups has the least amount of water in it, or the most amount of water in it? And so what we're going to do is we're going to have them say, obviously, this one has the least amount of water in it. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull it up so you can see. And what we're going to do is we're going to pull this out and we're going to ask them, what do you think this is? And then we say 99.9% of women think that this is cotton, or people in general think that this is cotton, but it's not. We let them know based on research that this is wood pulp fibers, recycled newspapers, and recycled trash. That's what we know is inside of this. And so we let them know that's why the napkin came up soaked, because this is not meant to absorb liquid or fluid. And so what we do is we take their absorbency system and we want to roll it up, and we let them know we're going to put this in the cup with the least amount of water in it. We're going to put that here. And then we're going to do the exact same thing with our pad. We're going to dissect our pad just like we're dissecting their pad. We're just going to pull this off, and we let them know that this is much easier to tear than the other because it's natural materials and it's not plastic. And so what we're going to do, I know I got the cups in the way, so we're going to move that out the way real fast so you can see me. What I'm going to do is the exact same thing. I tore off one side, and I'm going to pull it so that only the top layer comes off. So what's going to happen is this second layer is going to try to come up with it, but you have to hold it down and pull the top part off. And we want to ask them, what's the first thing they notice about this top layer? And the first thing that they either should say is that you can see through it, there's holes, or that they're going to either say it's soft or something of that nature. What we want to do is make sure they understand that there are holes in it. And we want to emphasize the reason why there's holes in it is because we need it to be porous and breathable so that the woman's body isn't taking the brunt of what's going on. And then we just move that to the side, and we're going to let them know. We'll talk about this strip here in just a moment. So you can just sit that to the side. And then what you want to do, this is the tricky part. Because this is full of water, it's going to want to, it's going to be very easy to, for the polymer inside of it to come off. So what we want to do is you want to take your time and you want to roll it up for two reasons. One, you can just stuff it in there and it'll still absorb the water. But if you roll it up, it'll be neater and it absorbs faster because it's more contained. So I have to fight with it as I roll it up, depending on the pad and condition it's in. Sometimes it's going to be easier than others. You don't have to rush. If you find yourself trying to get it undone and it's fighting with you, you just take your time and let them know, I'm getting better at this. So what we do is, I'm going to pull the cups back up here and let them know we agreed that this cup had the least amount of water in it and this cup had the most amount of water in it. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our absorbency system and we're going to put it in the cup with the most amount of water in it. So what I do is I put it in and I turn it the way that it will unwind or unroll so that it will absorb faster. And I'll just take our whatever little bit of the polymer that comes off, I'll put it in here. So at this point, we want to start filling this space with information. And the best way to do that is we're going to leave that right there in front of you. And the first thing we want to do is we want to point out that one thing that we like to emphasize to women is this blue ink here. We let them know this is nothing more than blue dye on a piece of plastic. And that blue dye is going to go back into your bloodstream. And then we let them know that that's not something that you want happening. And so not only are they sitting on plastic, but they also have blue dye that's going back into their bloodstream. And we talked about how it's rayon, and we let them know that ours is a soft, porous cotton. And we let them know that it's safer for them and it tears very easily. We let them know that we're using materials that are safe and that are effective. We show them we peel up the bottom part of the store-bought pad and show them. And now at this point, I try to grab both sides evenly and let them know this is nothing more than a trash bag. And what I do is I'll pull it apart, I'll stretch it and let them know this is nothing more than a trash bag, like a Walmart bag or a hefty trash bag, because that's what it is. And I like to try to stretch it without ripping it because we want to emphasize that they're putting our women in trash bags. They're putting the wood pulp fibers, the recycled newspaper, the recycled magazines and trash inside of a trash bag. We want to also let them know that during that time of the month, while they're on their flow, that there's going to be blood, there's going to be, in some cases, polyps, there's going to be, in some cases, urine, there's going to be moisture from sweat. And we let them know that all of that combined and put in a trash bag with no ventilation, no breathability, we let them know that's a recipe for disaster. And then at the same time, we want to add the dramatics and let them know we still can't pull this apart. And so we let them know that this is a recipe for disaster and they shouldn't want to sit on that. And then what we do is we pull up ours. By this time, 2 minutes have passed, so I know the polymer is completely soaked. We want to pull this second to bottom layer off and let them know this is nothing more than a piece of cotton that is designed to hold our polymer in place. So we just pull it apart to show them in comparison to the trash bag and the cotton. We pull up the bottom part of our absorbency system. Then this part, you want to make sure you hold it up so that you can show them. Turn it this way without it getting all stuck. We want to show them the lines. See if you can see that. There's lines going to the side, from side to side. And what we explain is those are microfiber holes. So it's ventilated. See if you can see that from there. There's holes or lines going from side to side. Those are microfiber holes so that the pad is ventilated. It's breathable from the top to the bottom. And that's what you need, because you don't want the woman's most sensitive part of her body taking the brunt of what's going on down there. There's bacteria, there's moisture, there is blood that contains bacteria. And so you want to let them know the importance of this being breathable is so that their body doesn't have to take the brunt of everything that's going on. And then, just like you did with the other piece of cotton, you want to let them know that instead of us using a trash bag, which is what they use, we're going to use a cotton blend. And you want to just tear it and show them that it just tears apart very easily. And then what you want to do is ask, how long do you think their absorbency system has been sitting in this cup? They'll say maybe 5 minutes, maybe 2 to 3 minutes. And you want to pull it up and show them that it has not absorbed the water. And you want to show them that it's dripping the water. And the reason why is it's not meant to absorb anything. Let them know that trash, newspaper, wood pulp fibers are not meant to absorb anything. Two things: you could literally squeeze out 99% of this water and it'll go right back into the cup. Another thing is you want to explain to them the reason why the water is no longer clear is because of the chemicals that are being used in it. And that's the bleach that they have to whiten those materials with, and let them know that is dioxin. And so what we want to do is we want to put that back in there. And then we want to ask them, how long would you say this has been in there? They're going to say a couple minutes. And then you're going to want to set, you want to reassure them or re-emphasize that we poured 50 milliliters of water on there. We put the napkin on it and it was completely dry. We poured water in the cup and it was twice as much than what was in this cup. And then the question I want to ask is, you want to turn it to the side. What happened to the water? And then that's another wow factor. And then you want to say you want to take it a step further. We're going to move this cup out of the way. And then by this time, since 2 minutes have passed, it's safe to turn it over and say, we just turned a liquid into a gel. We want to explain to them that it's cool to the touch. That's because the woman's body is running hotter than normal during that time of the month. We'll let them touch it. They'll be like, ooh, ah, whatever. And then we want to put it back in the cup and move it to the side. And so at that point, you've pretty much sold them on the fact that our pad is much better than the pads that they're used to. And then what you want to do is you want to let them know that we could have stopped at good. We could have just left it at that and still had a product that was superior to what's on the shelves in the stores. But you want to do this. You want to bring up the fact that what we have is Nobel Prize winning material in our pads. So what you want to do, I'm gonna move this out the way actually, because we no longer need the timer. So what you want to do, got stuff all on my arm. What you want to do is show them that, one, there are stripes going through the strip. You want to let them know that this is a 100% algae strip that is infused with graphene technology. You want to, at this point, pull out your books. You want to let them know that graphene was discovered by two men in 2004. They were awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics in 2010. At this point, you want to give a quick disclaimer. You want to give a statement that helps wrap up why there has been research done on graphene, and then you want to encourage them. Don't take my word for it. Do your own research. I like to think that I'm smart. I like to think that I'm intelligent, but it doesn't matter how smart I am or how much money I have or how much money I have. No one can do as much research as the Nobel Prize Committee. And you want to let them know a few things about graphene. So you want to hold up the book. Some people will want to take a picture of it. Some people will want to know what the book says. But what I do is I'll either leave the books here or I'll move them to the side so that people can see them. And then I pull this up. While I'm pulling this up, I want them to associate what I'm saying with the strip. You want to let them know that graphene is one. It's a 99.9% bacteria killer so that it can get rid of or complete. We're going to put it like this. If it's going to significantly reduce the odor or completely eliminate it based on testimonies that we hear from women. It's going to help with inflammation. It's going to help with removing heat from your core. It's going to help with your pH balance. It's going to help with your hormone secretion. It's going to help with all these different things. You want to get used to and be familiar with what the graphene is doing. And then what we want to talk about is how the main thing we want to demonstrate is that the graphene has what we like to call positive electrons or vibrational energy. And at that point, you go back into your box and then you pull out your light bulb. Now, what I have here is the box that it comes in, and it's a 7-watt LED light bulb. You let them know that it's a low wattage light bulb. I'm gonna put that right here. Now, I already have one out. You want to show them that this is a 7-watt light bulb. You explain it's not like a 40-watt or a 60-watt light bulb that's in your house. This is designed to detect low energy. And what you want to let them know is that you don't want them to confuse energy with electricity. I like to make the joke that energy comes from dams. Energy comes from windmills. Electricity comes from Reliant and Centerpoint. And so what we do is we let them know that when this light bulb senses energy, it's going to illuminate. So I'm going to attempt to put it down flat on the table. And what you want to do is you want to get the circular part, the rim of the filament or the rim of the light bulb at the very edges. You want that to touch where these lines are. So you want to take your time and you want to try to put it right on. Hold up, I'm going to do it like this. You want to put it right on the edge. And then sometimes it'll work just like that, but you have to make sure that the edge of the light bulb touches where these stripes are. And at this point, when they see the lights light up, they're going to want to look under the table. They're going to say, wow, how are you going to do that? And many people will want to put their hands on it and see if there's a button. And I'll hand it to them, let them feel it, turn it around, look through it, inspect it, and see that there's no buttons on here. And we want to explain to them the importance of this vibrational energy is that, one, it's going to help relax the uterus, keep it from cramping, and we let them know, or contracting, and we want to let them know that that's going to significantly reduce cramping or completely eliminate it. And at that point, we just let them know that many people say, well, the stores are using trash and recycled materials. Why did you all go to the extent of using a super polymer and Nobel Prize winning material? We let them know that because the woman is worth it. And that's the gist of doing the demonstration. And want to let you know that there's a couple things I left out, but we can go over those details. And one of those things was the store-bought pad. The store-bought pad, they use chlorine to bleach it. We want to let them know about the importance of dioxin and the chemicals that are in the pad that are harmful to the woman's body. We'll go over those later, but that is a general overview or a general demonstration of the pads and what we have to offer. Still got stuff all on me.